Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome to today's message. Today, I want to talk from something that's just been going on in my world. Literally just this morning, I've had to move through some anger, some, disempowerment, kind of just a lot of anger, actually. But basically go through a process of getting myself out of anger and into a state of empowerment. And so what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is basically when we abandon ourselves through guilt and for the wrong reasons. All right. So we abandon what our needs are. We abandon what's healthy for us. We sacrifice what's true. We settle instead of hold really good standards for the quality of connection that we want to have in our lives. And so that's what I really want to talk to you guys about today. So it'll be super helpful for each and every one of you. If you want to get value from today's message, apply it to your life right here, right now, to think about where in your life and with whom right now in relationship with you, or reflect into the past or a potential upcoming issue that you can project towards. And I want you to think about, like, who do you feel as though sparks a level of guilt within you that you oftentimes sacrifice what's true for yourself because of. All right. So I don't know about you, but in a lot of the people in my own life and in a lot of the people that I connect with's lives, there tends to be one or two particular people who have maybe more of a hold over us in this particular way, and can pull on our strings of guilt to kind of get what they want. And at the end of the day, we have to come to the perspective of, we're adults, right? We're the ones in the driver's seat, and we're the ones who are ultimately giving that power away. But today's message is for us to be compassionate with ourselves, to be really conscious and aware of our own patterns and how we get tripped up through guilt and sacrificing what's true for us. And it's not healthy, and it's not working for us, and it ends up enabling people's poor treatment of us as well in our lives. So this is another message of empowerment for all of us, as a reminder, or maybe we're going through it right now as I am, and to ultimately step up, be the leader of our own lives. And in particular for today's message, about converting your anger into empowerment, because that's basically what it's here to do. All right. So, and as you're tuning in, please do drop some comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, any experiences that you want to share with our community, any questions. I love questions, or any words of wisdom from your own experiences, really valued here in this space and on during these conversations. So I would love to hear from you, and I always check in with you after I give you a little spiel and something to work with, and then I dive in and connect with you guys. All right. So stop abandoning yourself through guilt. All right. That's what today's topic is. So think about in your life where you tend to abandon yourself, and how guilt holds a lot of power over you and gets you doing things, particularly in relationship, that you wouldn't have really chosen for yourself, or don't really feel healthy or aligned with you. This is a great message for you. So, little quick background story. What happened for me this morning was somebody in my life, I'm going to talk about as a family member. Basically, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it was another situation in which I found myself feeling kind of angry by the lack of consideration that this person was having for not only myself, but for other people that they were impacting with their decisions. Now, I found myself kind of go into this like feeling of anger. And after I'd had a conversation with somebody else about what choices were being made, what decisions were being made, and how that was impacting other people without even being considered, right, by this person. It's not a new thing. It's a common theme. All right. And so I found myself get off this conversation and feel really angry. And I just checked in with myself, right? And I just was like, what am I feeling? And I could feel this sense of anger And I could, and then I started kind of just connecting with myself and talking it out. What am I angry about? Like, how is this impacting me? How can I feel what's going on for me and then do something about it, right? And so basically what I was feeling was that basically this person's decision was almost violating my choice, right? I felt as though what they were deciding without considering me was going to impact me and my life and violate what I felt was healthy for me. And I felt this experience of, I might feel a bit like guilty by not going along with that, right? Not going along with the choice or the decision. But I also felt like a lot of anger, and the anger was here to empower me where I wasn't empowering myself. That's what anger is. That is the energy of anger. Anytime you feel angry in your life, it's because you're feeling disempowered in some way, shape, or form. And so energetically, you're being given the energy and the fuel to actually make a change towards your empowerment. All right, that's what anger is. So we don't want to deny our anger. We just want to use it resourcefully to empower ourselves. All right, not abuse others with. And so instead of, being aggressive and directing my anger towards this person and abusing them about it, instead I channel that anger into how am I feeling disempowered by this, and what do I need to do if I'm somebody taking responsibility for myself as an adult to ensure that I am empowered and making healthy choices for myself, right? Not falling into the trap of guilt and going along and turning that anger into passive aggressiveness, right? That's not healthy either. We want to use it to our empowerment. And so step number one, if you find yourself, feeling as though you're not feeling empowered in a relationship dynamic, is number one, become aware of what's going on in your body. All right. Like for me, I could feel anger. I could feel it in my chest. I could feel it in my throat. And I basically got connected to that. And then I got clear on why am I feeling this anger? All right. What is it about this dynamic that doesn't sit right with me, right? And what I was able to get clear on was the fact, and this is about not denying your reality. It's about owning and validating what is true for you, all right? And looking at reality, not your hopes or fantasies about what it could be or denying your reality, but actually owning your reality, right? And the fact of the matter was, when I got clear on it, I was like, look, I don't trust this person based on past experiences, a multitude of past experiences with this person throughout my life. I don't believe that they have my best interests at heart, right? I believe they're very self-serving at the expense of those around them. I do not feel appreciated or valued by this person, and therefore they wouldn't be somebody that I would choose to spend my time with, right? That's my standard. They're not meeting any of the standards of my connection, my need for connection and my desires for healthy connection. And one of the things that I was able to attach the sense of guilt towards was the fact that I could see that this person's children and partner are almost used as pawns to kind of keep you in connection with this person, because you might have a problem with this particular person, but look, they've got children that you want to be connected to. They've got a partner that's done nothing wrong that you want to build a healthy relationship with. And what can happen at times when there are people who don't take responsibility for how they impact others and are more self-serving, is that they are surrounded by people or pawns, right, that keep you in connection, keep you kind of guilted into connection with that person. All right. And I had to kind of come to terms with this, because for many years, that's what kind of kept me in those dynamics and basically denied the reality of the abusive treatment and behavior and stuff that I would not settle for in any other dynamic. But because it's family, because they have children, because they have a partner who's done nothing wrong, they were kind of being used like pawns to keep you in that dynamic and enabling that kind of behavior, and not having to call it out, and basically them just getting away with how they're operating, even though you wouldn't allow anybody that you would select to have in your life to engage in those behaviors and lack of consideration, right? So that's what was going on for me, right? I was able to get clear on my own reality that was making me angry based on this decision. All right. And then basically what you want to do from there is get clear on what your standards are for relationship and equate it to this quality of relationship. If it's a family relationship, if it's an intimate partnership, that might have different standards. If it's a friendship, if it's a business relationship, whatever, but like get clear on what are my standards here? What are my needs and wants in vision of relationship, in this type of quality of relationship that I want? And I basically was able to outline 4 really distinct and very meaningful things for me that I require in the quality of this kind of relationship. Number 1, I felt like we need to value and appreciate people truthfully, right? By treating them the same way behind their backs that you would treat them to their face. Because this is one of the challenges that this person, being in relationship with this person throughout my life, has alerted me to the value that I hold on treating people the same way behind their back as you treat them to their face. Because I obviously there was a void in this relationship where this person has been treating me very differently to my face than I know they're treating me behind my back, right? And so that void became a really strong value for me in relationship that I'm not willing to lower my standards for, right? Show up and treat me how you truthfully feel. Don't treat me one way and then behind my back completely different, right? I think most of us would want that. Whenever we are valuing of ourselves and not willing to settle for less than what the quality of connection we could have with anybody is, we're going to hold a high standard on that, right? And that's a reflection of our own self-worth and value. And just for valuing human beings, I'm not going to treat people, I'm not going to gossip behind their back, I'm not going to treat them poorly, I'm not going to pretend to be a certain way to their face and then go and attack them behind their backs, right? That's just not who I choose to be in this world, no matter what kind of relationship you have with me. All right, so that was one of my high standards for this dynamic. My next one was to actively take responsibility for your own problems and find solutions rather than complain and blame constantly without ever really desiring to find a solution to those challenges. Because over time, again, the void in this particular dynamic that it alerted me to, and this is the value of having less than healthy relationships because they can alert you to what you really want to own and value, is that this person that's oftentimes complaining and blaming, but they don't ever take responsibility. And over years and years of trying to support somebody like that, at some stage you have to realize that they're not actually looking for a solution, and they just want to blame and complain, right? And that's okay for some of us. For me personally, that's not okay, because I put such a high value on, yeah, we've all got problems, we've all got challenges, but what are we doing to own that, take responsibility as adults, and like, how can I support you to find solutions and encourage you along the way and do whatever I can to support you on that journey so that we can progress together, right? Not get stuck in the connection over problems that keep getting recycled. That's just not what I want in relationship, right? And also having a genuine interest in each other and a desire for mutual beneficiary kind of dynamics, right, that enhance each other's lives because we're in relationship with one another, all right? And that means, like, I feel fulfilled by your well-being, and likewise, right? We want to see the best for one another. We want to share in the successes and the struggles and all of it, and cheer each other on and support each other where we can and add our gifts where we can and hold a high standard for that with genuine interest for the other person, right? And their well-being. That's important to me, right? And lastly, I decided that also what was really important in this particular relationship and dynamic was to drop expectations on one another and to actually just accept one another for who we are and how we choose to live our lives. All right, because in dynamic, a void in this relationship had been feeling as though everything is constantly expected of me, but never ever good enough, right? No matter how much I would sacrifice of myself, because that's who I used to be in the past, and this person's known me all my life, that would never be good enough. Right? There'd always be more I should have done, and always being judged for what I haven't done or what I have done, right? It's just, there's no winning in those dynamics because of constant expectations and a lack of acceptance for each other's differences and appreciation of those differences so that we can ultimately have a life-enhancing relationship with one another, all right? And so getting clear on that, they're the standards that I hold. And for some people might judge me and say, well, they're very high standards, Vanessa. Who's going to live up to them? Well, you know what? I live up to them. I have other people in my life who absolutely live up to that and even exceed that. So I know what's possible, and I'm not willing to sacrifice what is the highest standard of our connection could possibly be, because all I'd be doing is sacrificing my time and my connection, and I'd be enabling other people's lack of responsibility for stepping up and building deeper connections in their lives. And I'm just not going to be responsible for that. And the way I'm not going to be responsible for that is for taking full responsibility for myself. All right. And so once we've identified the standards that we hold in this particular dynamic, this is the key point to make sure that you do not end up settling and sacrificing what's true for you, and you can basically get beyond that and take responsibility for yourself. Is those standards that you've just gotten clear on, now what you need to do is make sure that you are meeting those needs for yourself. Because when we do not meet our needs for ourselves, we're always living in guilt. We'll do whatever other people want from us at the sacrifice of us being true to ourselves, and we will lower our standards and settle because we're needy, because we're not meeting our own needs. And so for me, I went back to those standards that I outlined and got really clear on for myself, and I asked myself, like, am I valuing and appreciating myself? Because if that's a high standard for you in relationship and you're not doing it for yourself, you'll do whatever it takes in that person's eyes at the expense of your truth and who you actually are to get some sort of acceptance and approval and value from them, right? And so you end up not being in relationship with them because you're not contributing yourself to them, because you're needily trying to become and mold yourself to whatever you perceive they will give you acceptance and approval for, right? So I had to take this back to myself to know, to make sure that I wouldn't settle in relationship and I wouldn't just accept their poor behavior or treatment, right? So that was number one. Am I valuing and appreciating myself? Because that's a need in this relationship. If not, what could I be doing to value and appreciate myself more? So I'm meeting that need for myself, right? Number two, I had to ask myself, am I actively taking responsibility for my own problems? Because that's a need for me in that relationship. Am I doing that for myself, right? And so yeah, I have to do that, right? It's a good check-in to make sure I'm definitely taking responsibility for my own problems. Just going through a process like this is doing just that, right? I had to ask myself, am I genuinely interested in myself and enhancing my own well-being, right? Because if I want that in relationship, if I want genuine interest directed towards me, and I want to feel as though my well-being matters from that other person, I need to be doing that for myself. And most people will say, when they talk about relationship and what you want from a relationship, they'll say you have to be that for them, right? But I want to really hear me on this. It's not just about you being what you want from others for them. If you're not being what you want from others for you, you will sell out on yourself, right? You'll be needy. You'll be trying to get that need that you're not meeting for yourself, and you're trying to meet through them by being everything that you need within yourself. You're trying to do for them. It might not even be their needs, right? And you're expecting them to return that so that you can fill that void, that you're out here directing it in the wrong direction when you really need to be fulfilling that void for yourself so that you're no longer needy in relationships. You'd rather go it alone, even if you feel a sense of loneliness for a time. You'd rather go it alone so that you can meet people on that level, right? Who are going to be healthy for you. But if you're not meeting those needs for yourself, you're going to settle for any sort of connection, right? And you're going to mistake becoming what you want other people to be towards you. You're going to try and be that for other people, and you're going to do it in the wrong directions because you're going to be settling and sacrificing and coming from a needy place, right? So this is why it's so important to not just be for others what you want them to be for you. You got to be that for you first and foremost. Then think about expanding that into your dynamics with others, all right? Like, just trust me on this one, because I've done the wrong thing so many times. All right. And the last question I had to ask myself based on those new standards I was being clear on in this dynamic was, am I accepting myself and my own life choices, right? Because if I want somebody else to accept me for who I am and the way I want to live my life, am I doing that for myself? So that it's not a neediness and I'm willing to, to and fro and be what I perceive you want from me to fill that void that I'm not meeting for myself. It's no, I really own this within myself, and that's the standard that I want in all my other relationships. I'm not willing, like, my relationship with myself is setting the bar at a certain level, and you're either going to come with me on that journey and we're going to enhance each other's lives, or you're just not. And I'm not willing to sacrifice or settle for that because I can have a better quality of relationship by myself, right? So that becomes the standard. And then finally after that, once you've made sure that you've gotten clear on how you're meeting your needs, or you're going to meet your needs, right? And create a clear path of growth for yourself, you have to be really clear in your communication. It's not about ghosting people, right? Particularly if they're people that it would be helpful for you to have in a long-term dynamic. They're in connection with other people, say it's a family relationship and whatnot, right? It's like you have to have the courage to communicate and give somebody the opportunity to come and meet you in that growth journey and at a higher standard for connection. But simultaneously, you have to be willing to basically disconnect if they're unwilling to come with you on that standard and they want to stay playing down here in less than perfect or even abusive relationship dynamics that you're not willing to settle for. You have to be willing to part ways before you even get into that communication, all right? So that you can come again from not a needy place, but from a really healthy place that can be an inspirational place. Like, many people will come with you, many people will not, all right? So you have to be willing to take that chance and have that communication, give them the opportunity. Don't just ghost, don't just run away, don't just completely disconnect without communication, because that's something that is in and of itself your avoidance of your own growth and development. You've got to be able to communicate about what your needs are when it's uncomfortable. You've got to have that courage, all right? So all of this is for you. It's all on your way. It's all a growth opportunity. It's all to help you get clearer and more grounded in what matters to you. Meet your own needs so that you never again settle for less than healthy dynamics, and definitely wouldn't let guilt you into sacrificing what's true for you, right? And I wanted to ask you this question, or leave you with this, and write it down. I heard it in a podcast I was listening to this morning, and the question was, like, think about this person, right, that you're having a challenge with. The question was in the podcast, it was related to asking yourself this about your partner, but you can ask this about any person that you're in relationship with. And if you're having a challenge with them, it might be a good time to really get some truth from this question. And it might sound funny, but see what your results are. The question is, if this person was a piece of clothing from my wardrobe, what would they be? All right, so write that question down. What if this person was a piece of clothing in my wardrobe, what would they be? All right, write that question down to ask yourself with about many people in your life right now, particularly the ones you're a bit confused by, or you're unsure whether it is a good relationship or it's not a good relationship, and you're not sure whether you want to have this person in your life or maybe even part ways. Ask yourself this question, because when it's a good relationship, the piece of clothing is probably going to be something that is comfortable, that makes you feel good about yourself, right? That is, warm or whatever, right? And what you might also find is if you ask this question and you get responses like, this is something that is uncomfortable, it doesn't make me feel good about myself, maybe it's something that's for everybody else's approval, maybe it's something that is not reliable, maybe you feel like this piece of clothing would just like expose you in some way and not be comfortable, or just not reliable or safe, right? Like you'll find some interesting responses that'll come from within you when you ask yourself that question about, if this person was a piece of clothing from my wardrobe, what would they be? All right, I know it sounds like a stupid question, but I'm telling you, it's got some really good way, a really good way of tapping into your subconscious. All right, and what comes out from you is basically your experience, your true experience on a subconscious level with this person. Okay, and allow that to connect with you, and allow that to determine what's true for you about this relationship, right? Like if you're a bit confused, it's a great question to ask, because you'll get to some truths and apply it to the dynamic of this person in your relationship. All right, I'm telling you, it'll be very interesting, and I would absolutely love to hear any of you guys who give it a go and you ask yourself that question about people in your life. What would they be exactly? All right, so I definitely want to check in with you guys. Drop me some comments, let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. If you've got any words of wisdom on this topic, or if you have any questions from your own life, I'd love to hear from you guys, or just say hi. I have got Thea in the house, and Wolfgang, and Cisco, and Paul, and Ram. Good to see you, my friend. And Judith is here as well. And Ram, value and treat people truthfully. Absolutely, right? If you're showing up and treating a person one way to their face and quite another way behind their back, ask yourself why. What are you getting from that? How is your diminishment of their character or who they are, or your pretense? How is that giving you a false sense of esteem, right? And you could find some much healthier ways to go about that, right? And ask yourself why you don't have the courage to communicate things that you're not happy about, maybe with that person or with the relationship, right? Like, it's all a growth journey for you. Everybody's a mirror. Okay, love that, Ram. Elf's in the house, good to see you. And Ram, actively take responsibility for your own problems rather than blame and complain. Yes, absolutely. You better believe it. And Alex, totally, you develop strength of character and a distinct set of principles after experiencing certain characteristics. Developing that discernment from an empathic heart can be a journey. Abso-freaking-lutely, Alex. Grateful that you're on that journey too. And that's why we don't want to get into this state of helplessness and hopelessness, because we've had, unhealthy relationship dynamics, or people treated us poorly. We've got to own that. We've got to validate our reality, and we've got to heal ourselves from that. But then we also want to learn from that, right? We also want to learn about, like, what was it about me that settled for that? What has that relationship taught me about what I really value and what a new standard in dynamic is for me, right? And go on that growth journey and take responsibility, because we're no longer the little kid from our childhood, who didn't know better and potentially had people treat us certain ways. We're now an adult, and now we have to take responsibility for our own healing. We have to reparent ourselves, right? And go about that journey as well. So love that, Alex. Thanks so much for being here. And Elf, love your soul, dear one. Loving your soul right back there, Elf. Always grateful to have you here. And Ram, having a genuine interest in each other. Absolutely. I love how you're doing the recap here. So good. And drop expectations from one another, accept one another. Absolutely, my friend. Thank you so much for showing up and being here and contributing to the conversation. And Lucy's in the house. Good to see you, beautiful. And Deborah, good to see you. And Alex, one thing to think you would accept another to actually stand in power regardless of other consequences. These lessons are so important. You may find yourself drifting if you avoid and aren't loving yourself and overflowing instead. Exactly. I live up to them. Yes, absolutely. I love that, Alex. Yeah, you know, we definitely have to have courage, and we have to take a stand for our own well-being and our own health. We can't just think, well, I'm going to become for others everything that I would want them to be for me, and silently in return they're just going to do that for me. No. You have to be clear on what your needs are in relationship, what you ultimately want, what your standards are. You have to then meet those needs for yourself. Be all of those things for you, not for them. You have to start with you, right? The corny old line of you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? It's so true. So set your standards, get clear on those, make sure you're meeting those for yourself. If you're not currently meeting those standards for yourself in your own relationship with self, there's your growth path. You've just become your own coach. You've just laid it out for yourself. If you're unsure about how to go about really meeting those needs, reach out to people who can support you. My door is always open. You can always reach out to me, ask me questions. That's what I'm here to do. Nothing lights me up more than being of service to you and your well-being, right? That lights me up. So if I can help, I certainly will. And then once you've gone about doing that and meeting those needs for yourself, now you're in a position to genuinely attract people who will meet you on that standard, because you won't be willing to settle for anything less, right? You won't settle for anything less than your relationship when you're by yourself, right? If that's at a high standard, then you're not going to needily sacrifice what's true for you to get somebody else to fill that void only you can fulfill for yourself, for you, right? You're going to just not be interested in people who can't meet you there, right? And that's okay. You know, you can invite them up, and if they come up, amazing. If they don't, you're just not willing to sacrifice yourself for that. Exactly. So love that, Alex. Thank you so much for being here and for your contributions. And Lynn's in the house. Awesome. And Ram, if this person was a piece of clothing in your wardrobe, what would they be? Exactly. Like, ask yourselves that question genuinely. All right. Because there's so much value. I'll have to share with you guys at some stage, you know, some of my responses, because they're quite interesting. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If you ask yourself, particularly with somebody that you're a bit confused if it's a healthy dynamic or not, like, ask yourself that question, see what your answers are. It's a really good connection point piece into your subconscious, so you can get out of confusion, stop living in hope of something or someone being better, and actually just own your own reality and stop denying it. Love that. And Alex, the previous person, I'm thinking back, it was a dirty sock that has the ability to love bomb and create a facade of comfort and has the potential of comfort. Yeah, absolutely. And we don't go for facades, and we don't go for potential, right? We go for the reality of who somebody is. That's a dirty sock. What are you going to do with it? Put it in the wash, right? Send it back, find a clean one, right? It's not your responsibility to deny your own reality of that being a dirty sock, right? And it's not comfortable, it's not clean, and it's not healthy for you. And don't just live in the potential of, oh, it might be clean one day. No, look at the reality of what it is now. Not your responsibility to clean that dirty sock, but just see it for what it is, and don't buy into facades, don't buy into potential. I'm speaking from experience. I love that. Thank you so much for doing that and sharing that, Alex. And Ram, namaste, right back at you from India. So good to have you part of our community. And Lynn, hello from USA state of Kentucky. Good to have you back, Lynn. Grateful to have you here too. And Ram says, wardrobe question, very relevant to effectively manage difficult people. You got it, my friend. And Vanessa, truly appreciate your amazing consistency to inspire over the years. God bless you always. So much love for you, Ram. Thank you so much for those kind words. And I so appreciate you showing up time and time again over all of these years as well and contributing to the conversation. And Bill's in the house. So good to see you, my friend. It feels like forever. So good to be back doing these messages with you guys. I really hope today's message has served you, and I am sure majority of you are already a part of the Limitless Potential free Facebook community with thousands of amazing individuals from across the globe. Come and be a part of that group. I'll drop a comment with the link if you haven't already joined us there. And if you're already in there, just come and introduce yourselves, right? Who you are, where you're from, what you're struggling with, what you're succeeding with. Like, it's a space to inspire one another and feel as though we all have our best interests at heart, right? All those things that I outlined today, you know, about those values in relationship, that's what the Limitless Potential community is also all about. All right, because it's not always that simple and easy to find high quality people that you want to grow shoulder to shoulder with and are willing to take responsibility for that growth and be a source of inspiration and allow you to inspire them too, right? It's not that easy to find. So if you want to be in an awesome community like that, come and join us. And like I said, I'll drop the link after today's I was going to say a call, but it's just this live stream. And if this has been of value to you and you know other people who could benefit from it, please do share it with anybody that you know could benefit. And hello to Charles. Good to see you. Anybody just joining now, please do catch the recording. Get a ton of value from today's message. Drop me some comments. I'll be back and tuning in with you guys and seeing what thoughts or ahas have been triggered for you, or any questions that you have as well, or any words of wisdom to inspire others along this journey. All right. So much love for each and every one of you guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Much love.